Hi, everyone. It's Lynn from DevineCentral. About a week ago, I received an e-newsletter from someone telling me never use the Celtic Cross for a reading. It's too hard. The positions are too vague. There's too many cards. It's just not a good spread. And they were referring to beginners and experienced readers alike. Well, I took issue with that because I don't happen to agree. And while I do understand that for a newbie, it might not be the best spread to start with, but for experienced readers, come on. In this video, I am going to show you how I cracked the whole thing open and not only figured out how to best use the Celtic Cross, but also how I turned it into my go-to spread. I use it for everything now. I found 5 elements that once implemented made all the difference in the world. So, number 1, make it your own. If you binge watch 20 videos on Celtic Cross Explained, you are going to find that nearly everybody veers off ever so slightly or quite a bit from the mainstream definition of the positions. And why? Because it didn't make sense to them. It didn't resonate with them. You have to feel comfortable with those positions. And what we don't realize when we're just starting out is that there are no rules. You don't have to use this spread exactly the way it's been laid out. You can change the positions so that they make sense to you, and then you will be more comfortable and more confident using that particular spread. Now, number 2, set your intention. And of course, this goes with anything, but if you change the positions and you set the intention and say, this is what this position will be used for, or here's the rule that I am going to make for myself for this position, you are letting your subconscious know, if you believe as I do, spirit, know that. And if spirit or your subconscious wants to get a message to you, they're going to abide by your rule there. So, for example, position number 1 for me, which is the heart of the matter, if a court card appears in position number 1, it is always a human being. And it may not and probably will not be the querent. I will promptly ask, who else is involved in this situation? Because if spirit knows that there's another person involved and the querent hasn't told me about that, then it's getting that message to me. And then I will know. So setting the intention of the layout and how you intend on using it, you are giving, again, either your subconscious or spirit. So let's wrap it into one and call it your intuition. You're giving that message so that they know how to give you the feedback. All right. Number 3, trust what you see and say what you see. So usually the first thing that crosses your mind's eye is you can see this like rolling movie in your head. So as soon as you see a card and you can see where it's going in your head, let that be okay. Trust that what you see is the right path for you to take. And if you are questioning every position and you're questioning every card that comes up in those positions, you're never going to have an accurate, cohesive, concise story. So you need to practice and you need to start trusting what you see because you set that intention. Now believe in it and give it an opportunity to work. Number 4, understand that not every card in any spread has to be a major player. I mean, it just can't be. It's just possible. So even in a 5-card spread, some cards are going to be the major cards. They're going to jump out. They're going to bite you. They're going to say, hey, this is what this reading is all about. The rest of the cards will either be filler cards or they'll be connector cards. And I have a video, Be a Better Storyteller, that kind of helps you practice with that and play with that and figure that out. All right. So finally, I too was overwhelmed by the number of cards in the beginning with this spread. And what I've discovered is even today, if I were to lay out a 10-card Celtic Cross face up, it's a little overwhelming still. So what I have learned to do is I take the cross, which, by the way, can be a spread all unto itself, right? I just take the cross, I lay it face up. This tells me a lot of information. It gives me the gist of the story, how we got where we are, where the querent is at this time. Because until you know where the querent's been and where they currently are, what their state of mind is, you can't possibly help them find that path forward. So to me, the staff is that path forward. Let me switch screen, and then I'm going to really quickly show you my layout. Then I will switch to live, and we'll do one quick spread to show you how that layout works. Okay, so this is my layout. Card number 1 is subject or the situation. I do not use significators. I feel as if you are sitting across from me, then this entire spread is you. I don't need to come up with a card to describe you. There's enough in it for me to get a good sense of what's going on in your life. All right, so again, if it's a court card, it's my automatic rule that it is another person. Now, again, rarely, once in a blue moon, it could be the querent, but usually it's somebody else. Now, if I get a cold reading where someone asks, oh, what does the universe want me to know? I believe the cards are spirit-driven. And so therefore, to me, this is a message from spirit. This is what they want to discuss. Now, card number 2 is obstacles to overcome. I don't consider that for good or for bad or for anything other than it's an obstacle. People don't come without a reason, okay? They have a problem. They have a decision that needs to be made. They have some icky feeling inside that they need to deal with. They have options they have to choose between. It's always something, and that makes it an obstacle that we just need to get past. Card number 3 is at the bottom for me. And some people call this the unconscious, what they don't know. Well, you know what? I need to know where the situation occurred. So for me, it makes more sense to make this the foundation or where this whole situation started. So we know what we have to work with. All right, card number 4, it's something that could be happening now. It is something that probably just occurred and the energy is still, let's put it this way, the energy still remains, but it's fading, okay? So this is energy that's leaving. All right, card number 5. You know, it could be your conscious mind, but put another way, it's simply what's on your mind. Now, Christiana Gaudet made this so clear for me. I will put her information down below. It could be what you wish for. It could be what you're afraid will happen. Are they going to leave me? Am I going to get the job? Isn't that what your hopes and fears are all about? So why do we need 2 positions for this, number 9 and number 5? I just keep it all rolled up in number 5. Card number 6, again, is what's coming next, or what is the next step? And for me, I don't think we need 2 of these either, so I choose to have one outcome, and that's going to be the last card, but this is going to be what we're moving into so we can prepare for it, right? Once I've gone through this, I then start turning over the staff one card at a time. Card number 7 to me, well, it's the self card for the main description. But for me, it could be your shadow self. So to me, it's how you can sabotage yourself or the situation. I mean, let's be honest. You have something on your mind and you already know that you thought about how you're going to deal with it because you chose to come here and have me read for you. So it's something that you've been thinking about. But how are you going to react to the situation? How are you going to move forward on your own? You want to make sure that you're not doing it in a way that is going to be detrimental, right? So it's just as important to know what not to do as to know what to do when you're trying to move forward for your best positive outcome. Card number 8, your environment. What I didn't have room to write was over which you have no control. So you can use this card in 2 ways, and it's very helpful. It can either be a warning, or it could be how can you use something that you have no control over? How can you use it to your advantage, right? So let's say this is a reading about a career, and you draw the 5 of Wands. So everybody's fighting and carrying on, and it's a warning that you need to step back out of the fray and pick your battles, right? But how could you use this to your advantage? Well, while everybody's pissing and moaning and bitching and petty gossip back and forth and arguing, whatever they're doing, you might just withdraw from the situation, take the long way around the back end of it, straight to upper management and say, have this idea that I think might be really helpful for our company. And if you don't think they don't already see what's going on with everybody else, then you're wrong, because they do. So you end up coming out of this smelling like a rose. So there are ways to use your environment, even if you have no control over it, to your advantage. Now, as a solutions-oriented reader, I do like to have advice from Devine in my readings. And so for me, that would be number 9. And a lot of people use position 9 as advice from spirit. So that leaves us with number 10, which is the potential outcome or the likely outcome. Now, I had to struggle with this one for a little bit before I chose and then set the intention that this would be the outcome if you continue on your current path, as opposed to if you do all this good stuff, this is what will happen for you. This is if you do nothing different. This is your current path. If you don't happen to like the fact that a 10 of Swords came up, well, then you have this great free will and opportunity to make changes in your life to circumvent that ending. If, let's say, you did not sabotage yourself, let's say you used your environment to your advantage and followed Spirit's advice, and you still got a negative card, well, that means that we fold up all the other cards, take number 10, set it off by itself, and do a reading on how you're going to get around that issue. So there are ways about that. Now let me switch to a live camera and let's see these same positions in a real reading. Okay, here we are. I am using Divine and Play Tarot. It's a cute little deck. What I like about it is the majors are dark. So when you're looking for majors versus minors, it's easy to spot. Okay, so here we go. Let's do this. Card 1. And of course, wouldn't you know, it would be a court card. Here's the obstacle that crosses. Now, how on earth could the Empress be an obstacle? I'll show you in a minute. Card number 3 is the foundation. How did we get here in the first place? Why are we discussing this person in the first place? Near past would be the energy that's leaving. We have the 3 of Cups. Here we have the 3 of Swords for what's on your mind. Then we have the 6 of Pentacles. I'm going to move this here a little bit. We have the 6 of Pentacles for the energy that's coming in. All right, this is going to be our next step or next thing that we need to do. Then I have our messages from Spirit. This is going to be our path. Okay, so here we go. I have a querent sitting across from me. Whenever I see the Page of Swords, I always like to ask, do you have children? And is there a problem with one of them? Because almost all the time they'll go, yeah, how'd you know that? You know, yes, you have a problem child here. Now, this is really simple. All you got to do is, if you're new, is take your keywords, figure your keywords, and then cobble together the story based on your keywords. So this is going to be a problem child who, by the way, I have quite a few meanings that pertain to the 4 of Swords. But in this particular case, the one that makes the most sense is disengagement. We have a problem child who has disengaged and is no longer communicating with his mother. And remember, this is it's his mother's reading. Even though she's asking about him, it's still her reading. So he's disengaged. All right. When did this occur? It must have occurred recently, because up until now, he's been communicating quite well. He's been happy, but now all of a sudden, you know, that he was rather quiet, but now all of a sudden something's going on. So here we have somebody who's a troubled child, let's say. There's an issue with this child. And the foundation for this reading, how did we come to this? He has pulled back. He's not communicating with his mother, and she's worried. Okay, what's on her mind? She's really worried about this. Now, it obviously hasn't been too long, because the recent past, he was very communicative. He was very sociable. He was talking and carrying on and having a good time. And all of a sudden now he's shut down, right? And he's not talking anymore. So what is the obstacle? And I see the obstacle as his mother. There's a fine line between mothering and smothering, right? And if she is riding his ass and trying to figure out what's going on because she's just worried about him, she's starting argument now with him, and there's all kinds of, things are being said, and or things are not being said either, either way, but it's really starting to affect her. And she wants to know, what's going on. So as we come around the bend, I see that then this is the next step. This is what's coming in next. This can be about generosity, right? This card. The card can also be about give and take. And for me, when I see this card in a relationship, whether it's a mother-son, whether it's a boyfriend-girlfriend, or, husband-wife, I see this as an unequal relationship. I always ask, who wears the pants in this relationship? Because there's an imbalance in this give and take. It's not equal. And so somebody is going to control the situation. Is it going to be her or is it going to be him? And maybe it's not going to be a good situation. So we need to figure out how to get past this whole situation. So the first thing I want to do is I want to ask, how can you sabotage the situation? And, it's interesting that we get the 10 of Wands because this is about burden, right? It seems that this kid, and let's call him a teenager, let's say he has really pulled back. If something is bothering him, something's on his mind. Do you really want to put more burden on him, more pressure on him? So maybe what you need to do to not make the situation any worse, maybe what you need to do now is to back off and not place any more burden on him than he already has. What about the environment? What is out of your control? Well, this is really interesting because I have always seen this card, and we're all different, right? Nostalgia. I see this card as kind of unhealthy family dynamic. When I see this card come up, for me, it's usually when I'm having to go back home to Christmas and spend time with family members that I really don't get along with that well. So something from the past is influencing the present. So something is riding him, and it's not something that you really have any control over. So I know you want to mother him. I know you want to make everything better for him. But sometimes you just have to let things play out. And maybe you start looking back at what kind of family dynamic do you have that's keeping him where he is. So what is the advice from Spirit? Well, we have the Knight of Wands. Knights are about action. Knights are about movement. And this is passion. We know that this is typically a young person. Let's call him a young man. So maybe he graduates from being the problem child to maybe he's like growing into his own, right? Maybe he's growing up a little bit. Could have been he got dumped by a girl or he got turned down by a girl and he doesn't want his mom or anybody else to know. So that's kind of that path to growing up, isn't it? It's kind of one of those things. I think guys just don't talk about with their mothers. But what I think the advice is, let him move forward on his own. Let him make that path on his own. Be there, be the stability for him, but let him do this on his own. And if you follow the current path, the potential outcome brings in the Emperor. Wow, we have two majors in this spread. One is the Empress and the other is her partner, the Emperor. So I am going to take that as his father. So maybe that the outcome is it's not a place for mom right now. Maybe the scales are not balanced, right? If they're tipped against you, who I'm doing the reading for, maybe it's best to let his father deal with this situation and you step back and let the whole thing take on a life of its own. So it's just one way of looking at how I read this. And by the way, that was like a 5-minute or less reading. So I do have a video out there called Celtic Cross in 5 minutes. No way. Check that one out because I actually set a timer and show how many that I can do in less than 5 minutes. All right. The next video that I'm going to do, it will be a deeper dive into the Celtic Cross. So you can start training your brain to automatically look for certain things without you even consciously making an effort to do so. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because that's how people will find it, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.